Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say. And welcome, everyone. Today is a follow-on to the conversation we had about the technology of the Hapbee, again, wearable wellness technology. We are welcoming Dr. Kyle Bergquist, founder of the Mission After, a nonprofit dedicated to helping veterans explore innovative treatments for physical and emotional pain. Dr. Bergquist produced the documentary film Wise Endurance. We'll talk about that, following combat veterans seeking regenerative medicine for traumatic brain injury. And recently he directed and produced the documentary Warrior's Journey, aimed at exploring psychedelics for post-traumatic stress and wounds. Also joining me is Yona Shtern. Yona's CEO of Hapbee, and the mission of the company that he leads is to improve the lives of 10 million people. Yona, Dr. Bergquist, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you guys are. And Yona actually is wearing his... Oh, you both have your devices on. And what are they set at?
I don't know about Kyle, but I'm on focus because I really want to be zoned in and give you good answers.
Mine's creativity.
Creativity and focus. Excellent. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, please look at the previous interview we did. We talked about the technology and how this does what it does. But today we're really talking about the Mission After, and Kyle, what you're doing. Tell us about the projects and the documentary.
Yeah, so 2017, we founded the Mission After, and it was geared at helping combat veterans mostly with traumatic brain injuries using advances in regenerative medicine. And since then, we've been looking at how can we help with mental health issues as well, seeing that a lot of our servicemen and women are really struggling with things like PTSD, moral wound, all of that. And so psychedelics came to the forefront for us to look at. And we've been working with a group called Heroic Hearts Project that actually gets veterans psychedelics and psychedelic journeys. And we ended up doing a research study with them and filming the entire thing. And that's the documentary, Warrior's Journey.
Let me ask a couple quick questions about the Heroic Hearts, because I know psychedelic research has been expanded greatly in the last 3 or 4 years. Is that in this country you did the research, and was it NIH funded? Was it through the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies? How did it come to be?
Yeah, great question. So it was actually out of country. So it was in Costa Rica. But we did have, the researchers had it under IRB with a couple major universities. So we were looking at some really interesting data points. If you'll indulge me, we were looking at gut microbiome. We were looking at facial affect and personality change pre and post ceremony, but also heart rate and HRV differences, et cetera, through ceremony as well.
And was it one sustained ceremony, or were there multiple?
They did 3 in a 3-night span.
3. Yeah, I worry about personality change. That's the one thing, because personality is the person. I understand when you're desperate and you have complex PTSD and stuff, but that's one of the things about psychedelics, that it does measurably change the person, and that's where I worry. It's sometimes worth it though. I mean, if you are really struggling with complex PTSD, and you've tried everything, I certainly get it. And so, Yona, tell me about how Hapbee happened with you.
Well, I've been a career, spent an entire career in disruptive technologies, really across the spectrum of different technologies, mobility, e-commerce. And I was wrapping up with another company about a year ago. And I really had no intention of pursuing anything in particular when I got a phone call from somebody that I knew in Los Angeles who said, you really should take a look at this company called Hapbee. They're doing some really remarkable things with some cutting edge wellness technology. And I have to be quite frank, at the beginning, um, I, I dismissed it pretty much out of hand because I was you can put me in the skeptic category when it comes to most things on the cutting edge of wellness. I think I chose to dismiss it because I really didn't understand it, and maybe the promise that it held was so broad, and that I just couldn't believe that it was true. And then when I started doing my own research, um, it it and I used the product for myself. I was astounded, A, how effective it was, and B, how much the scientific literature led me to understand that this was really a breakthrough, that you could provide to people a very similar effect to ingesting a substance without ever ingesting it. It sounds like Star Trek, but it really, really works. And what the scientists figured out was that most compounds that you ingest, caffeine, nicotine, CBD, THC, even psychedelics like ketamine, they operate at a magnetic level. They trigger an effect in your body, not based on ingesting the substance and generating a chemical reaction, but metabolizing that substance into your body releases a magnetic signal. And what Hapbee does is it captures that magnetic signal and plays it back without you having to put anything into your body. Once I tried it for myself, I was convinced. And to be quite frank, what happened to me then was I was about 2 weeks on the job, and I received a LinkedIn from a woman um, based in Ohio who runs a spousal support program for veterans. And she told me that she had heard about our technology on a podcast. She was desperate, and she wanted to know if she could try it and introduce it to the spouses in her spousal group. And that kind of led me down a bit of a rabbit hole, and led me to Kyle, led me to the guys on Gray Team and to Wounded Warrior. And I started to discover that kind of buried in our user groups were pockets of veterans who were successfully using Hapbee as an alternative to, traditional medicine, to narcotics, to chemical dependency, and were, successfully being treated. And it kind of opened up my eyes that, we had a mission, we had a responsibility that went far beyond building a company, really to helping people who deserved our best.
And that's where Kyle came in.
Yeah, we were introduced. We reached out to Kyle, found out about what he was doing, and we said, "How can we support you?" And Kyle said, "There are lots of people out there who need your help. People who laid their lives on the line, not only in terms of active duty, but in terms of reintegrating into society, and we can work together." And it's really been, I have to say, for me, it's been a privilege and an honor, and the rest of the folks at Hapbee feel the same way.
What have you guys done, Kyle?
So, when we were first setting up the psychedelic study back in 2020, we were set to go in March, and it got canceled. Clearly, COVID happened during that time, if everyone remembers correctly. And I had 15 veterans all looking for, so forward to going on this trip and actually working on what they were suffering with. And I just felt deflated. I felt really bad about it. And I actually reached out to Hapbee because my wife and I were using units ourselves. And I was like, is there anything we can do to get these men and women units while we're waiting another year potentially to go on this trip? And that's what we did. And so we started with 15 men and women and sent them out like that day. So they've been using them ever since.
And what'd you find? Using it for
So
sleep, using it for anxiety?
both, all of it, even focus, even creativity, energy, right? Like you think veteran, you think at least the narrative has been broken, barely hanging on, but really these are individuals that are going through life just like you and I, and they need all and every signal, right? So sleep seems to be the most commented on. So we get on calls with men and women who are using it. They're just like, sleep is saving my life at this point. Energy is a big one as well, kicking it up with caffeine. But what I've noticed is getting them into like using it as a routine is very helpful in terms of replacing some very destructive behaviors, whether that's alcohol or caffeine or any of those things that actually make that depression worse.
Interesting. And Yona, are you observing the same thing?
Yeah, I think Kyle's group was one of the first that we started working with, and then as a result, it almost created for us a bit of a blueprint for how to cooperate with veteran groups, and in many cases also with spousal support groups. There are 19 million retired military veterans in the United States, and this was a journey of discovery for me, because I understood what was probably the most common narrative, probably the one that Kyle just described about what a returning veteran was like. That there were people who were extremely well adjusted and there were people that were suffering. What I discovered was that was inaccurate. And in fact, most of the people who were suffering were doing it silently. And it was not only they were suffering, and the issues that they were facing and the challenges that they were facing were myriad, but their families and their caregivers were suffering as well. And I thought it was things like PTSD and anxiety and stress, like the things that you see in a Hollywood narrative.
You hear about.
But what was explained to me was, like if you're in combat, what you bring back with you as something that you carry with you, and you can't shake, is the experience that you went through and the level at which you're encountering the world. And then you come back and you're supposed to reintegrate into civilian society as though that never happened, and that though that never affected you, as though that and that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And so I thought that the primary benefit might be around anxiety and sleep, but what I discovered was, some people were amping up on Adderall just to kind of get out of bed, or amphetamines, or alcohol to deal with issues, or other kinds of barbiturates, or developing chemical dependencies, painkillers, and so on. And if we were able to offer for these folks an alternative that did not involve chemical dependency, did not involve deleterious side effects, it was a pathway that was significantly better. And when we kind of understood and discovered that, as I said, for us, it kind of shown a path in terms of what this company could actually do, and if you will, give back to people. As I said, didn't just give during service, but will continue to give for the rest of their lives, given kind of the state that they're in.
Should groups reach out to you, or veterans reach out to you? How are you going about this?
A lot of it has been inbound, and we kind of went through the process of trying to understand how we could best work with veterans, how we could set up a program to best treat and onboard veterans. And we now have a whole division that is doing that. We're actively now starting to switch gears and act in a much more proactive manner, reaching out to veterans groups, veteran support groups, We've made some inbounds to the VA and some other government organizations. We think it's our mission to try to help as many people as we possibly can. But I
Have you
certainly
worked with
welcome
Wounded
you. You
Warrior?
can find me on LinkedIn. You can find our website, hapbee.com. There's a link there to our veterans page. We're able and willing to assist.
I want to flip back to Kyle and the documentary. Do you have two documentaries? Am I getting that? Wise Endurance
Yeah,
and Warrior's Journey. Is that correct?
correct.
And
Yeah.
I've got some slides here from, I think it's Warrior's Journey. Is that what I've got?
Yeah.
Let's
That's the
let's
film
look
we're
at some of this.
in.
Yeah. So tell us about the Warrior's Journey.
Yeah, it was honestly, it's been the last 3.5 years. This idea that let's show veterans before, during ceremony, and after, and then actually track them out months and months after these really life altering journeys and see how it's affected them, affected their family, etc. As you're seeing here, there's pictures of some of the people in the film, and having gone through a very emotional share there. But some of these men are laying down grief they've had forever. Like gentleman there has had multiple people die in his arms. He's a pararescueman, and actually, for the first time in his life, was able to kind of set that grief down and disentangle from it. And it was a beautiful thing to witness and watch. But it's also been amazing to watch what that has done in his life going forward, as well, because as we know, that can really hold us back. So the story is really all about that.
Yeah, I've seen some remarkable effects of hallucinogenic therapies. And again, I'm not yet, the science is not yet to the point, the clinical science, where I can say, you go get it, this is the right patient for it and stuff. But I've certainly seen lots of stuff on the trauma side, on the grief side, on the addiction side, on the personality dysfunction side. What's that, Kyle?
Oh, I was just saying, we're very heartened by a lot of the research happening in this country, right? There is a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, the MAPS is sort of the leading organization for that. It's called the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. So if you're interested. And so did these guys, after their journey, did they keep using the Hapbee?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We reach out to them constantly. And that's what I'm most excited about with the Hapbee. It's such a great support tool for that in-between time, right? Life's going to happen, things are going to come up, et cetera. But it's really good for that, mellowing that stress out, amping up when you need to amp up. But we all know that there's a problem with opioids in this country. We know there's a problem with overprescription of drugs, et cetera. And it's really nice to have something that they can lean into that isn't detrimental, right? As far as we know, like it's nice to have something with no side effects.
Right. In the last presentation, it's been studied, extensively. There are no side effects, right? Occasionally people worry because it seems so hocus pocusy that like something, that something's going to go haywire, but science is there and there's no side effects, just aren't. So as you think about the future, Yona, what are your hopes and wishes?
We set our objectives in terms of the number of people we help. And I think the exciting thing for us is we're just at the very beginning of our journey. 2 years ago, we were a GoFundMe project. Now we're a publicly traded company. We're helping thousands of people. And literally on a daily basis, we get inbounds from people who say, "You've changed my life." I've spent the better part of 25 years scaling disruptive technology companies. I can honestly say this is the first time in my life where helping others and building something on a professional level are completely intertwined. And it's extraordinarily gratifying. Every single person who's joined the Hapbee team over the course of the last year, certainly since I've been involved with the company, has their own story about how Hapbee has affected either them, a loved one, or somebody close to them. It seems to be a gating item for everybody who's involved with the company, either as an employee, somebody who's helping us spread the word, or certainly many of our customers. We get inbounds all the time, and I encourage people who need help to reach out to us. We want to be as
At hapbee.com.
open as we
Hapbee.com.
can.
Yeah, hapbee.com is where you go. Yeah, I remember I fortunately met a lot of your teammates, and it's enthusiasts. Everyone is an enthusiast. And I remember I heard your story where you were a skeptic and became an enthusiast, much like those around you. And that is infectious. And I've expressed my excitement about this for a while. I'm very, very interested in this as something that could be very useful to people. I look forward to seeing how you guys, what you do in the future, who you are able to help, what you do with the Warrior Project sounds fantastic to me. Kyle, thank you for the documentary and for the work you do there. It's, you know, I mean, as you said, was it 19 million, Yona? Is that your number? Was that Kyle's?
Yeah,
19 million
19
veterans running around. And
yeah, there are 19 million veterans. If you start counting family, you know, you're probably close to 40.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think essentially everyone in this country feels a responsibility to try to help them. So thank you for doing that. And is there anything more we need to...
We owe them a debt of gratitude.
Yeah. Oh my God. And is there, I have a friend of mine actually who's very high functioning, had mild symptoms from having been in combat, but I'm just now thinking even he could benefit from this kind of, from Hapbee. He would. He still gets a little, your body remembers the score, as they say. The body remembers the trauma of the event, and it just doesn't go away unless you do something active with it. But gentlemen, is there more to say here? Have we covered the landscape pretty much? I feel like we've told the story.
I think we've done a great job, and hey, Drew, I want to thank you for providing us with a forum to get the word out.
I'm very excited. Very excited. I've loved this project, and
gratifying.
It's a big deal. And what in addition to the enthusiasts that you guys surround yourself with, you'll find family members will steal your Hapbee. That's what's happened to me. That's why I'm not wearing mine right now.
It happened with me.
Son.
I couldn't find mine 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and I discovered that both my kids were studying for exams, so they were on focus mode.
That's what my kids took it for the focus thing, and now I'm running around looking for it. So that's the kind of thing. You should have such problems, as they say. So so thank you, and Kyle, thanks for the documentary, and thanks for the work with the veterans, and Yona, thank you for being generous with the product, and thank you for being so enthusiastic about this thing that we hope will help a lot of people. Thanks, everyone. Again, it's hapbee.com for more information.